Hello everyone, it's Kristen Redmond, and today we're going to go over the planetary aspects that are surrounding us and affecting us for this upcoming week of September 24th through the 30th. Now this week we're coming off the heels of the autumn equinox, and when we go through this point in the year, this is where we look to see where the scales are balanced in our life. The equinox represents when the sun is above us at noon, and we have both equal parts of daylight and darkness in the day. We have that twice in a year. We have that at the spring equinox, which initiates the beginning of the new astrological year. And then 6 months later, we have the halfway point, and that is where we are now at the autumn equinox. Now, in astrology, what happens is that at that spring equinox, that is where we look to see where we want new beginnings and change to happen in our lives. Springtime is new growth, birth of ideas and such. And so that's when we plant our seeds of intention for that upcoming year. Now, in astrology, there is always a balancing and opposing sign, right? That's where we find the balance, and that's where we find that those seeds that we plant will come to fruition. And that's exactly where we're at now under the power of the autumn equinox. This is the harvest. This is the harvest time. So you'll see that those seeds of change and new beginnings that you planted then are coming through now. Now, when I say seeds of change, what was it that we were planning back in that time frame? Well, easy enough. Think back to what it was you wanted to change at that time frame. What we had happening then in the sign of Aries, that's where the sun was at that point, at that time. When we're in that mode, we are focused on what we need ourselves, not everybody else around us. It's about our wants, our needs, and our desires, and what we need to do to light the fire under ourselves, and what action and what steps we need to take to make it happen. Now, at that time, there was a lot of powerful energy that was making you realize what the inner warrior in you needed to do, and it was calling on it a lot. And at that time, it was almost like Mars, that ruling planet, was pushing you with a red hot poker under your skin to say, what is it that I want for change in my life? Where do I want these new beginnings? And throughout the course of the summer, Mars did some interesting things, going retrograde and really, really making us focus on where our inability to act, where our lack of confidence, and where our inner warrior has failed us, and where we need to make the changes to make that happen. Seeds were planted then. Now they're coming up under the power of this full moon and equinox that's happening now, because this is the balancing and opposing end of it. So pay attention to what's happening out there. What dreams are you having? What repetitive messages are coming through this week? Just know that it's the harvest of what it is you wanted, and follow that guidance. Don't push away that fruit that's been growing, because I tell you what, it's ultimately pushing you to areas that are going to bring you to greater happiness. Now is a matter of really pulling on that confidence to make it happen. Now it's asking for the action. It's not just the intention. It's time to get our feet moving. And you'll find that we have a full moon that's happening on Monday, on the 24th. Now, this is the total opposite of what was happening at the time of March 30th. So this is really where things are coming through. And when this happens, when this full moon happens, anytime we have a full moon, that's when cycles have reached their completion point. That's when energies are at their highest, emotions are at their highest. And when we're in the sign of Libra like we are now, it's focused on relationships. So if something you planted, especially in the springtime, had to do with your closest relationships, you can guarantee that this week is going to be shining a light on all of the hidden crevices that have been pushed down, recessed, that need to be resolved and need to reach their completion. Now, this full moon is being squared by the planet Saturn, which is the planet of karmic ties, karmic debts, lessons, and the hard work that we've put in the foundations that are under us. Now, when we have a full moon of endings squaring up against this planet of lessons, we're going to find that maybe this is a time frame when we have to really take responsibility and accountability for our role in these relationships and where they really need to change. Okay, maybe some of them need to end, and I tell you why, because Pluto is also going direct this week. It's been retrograde. That is the planet of endings and the transformations that result from the endings that happen in our lives. So as Pluto goes direct, and it's working with the energy of these endings that are happening this week, if this is a time when you are one of the many that had to release relationships, release expectations in relationships, maybe the relationship's not ending, maybe it's just a matter that you and or your significant other needs to change mindsets to make these relationships more successful and beneficial, scales are balanced for both people. It's a time to let these things go. But for some, the relationships really truly have to end. And you will know, your intuition will be extremely high this week thanks to that full moon and the scales that come through under the power of this autumn equinox. All right. So those are some interesting things that we have happening this week. I know it's like a lot at once there, but I tell you what, you'll really find that there's some repetitive themes that are carried through that started in the spring. And just know that it's the universe working with you to ultimately get you to greater happiness. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. When Saturn squares up against something, you know it's going to be kind of difficult and it's going to take a lot of courage from you, because that's the other side of it. That's where that Mars, that warrior that came through in the spring, has really grown itself and is ready to stand up and have that courage to vocalize what it is that you need. All right, so know that it's there. Know that you have specific angels that are around also to help in this time frame as well. It's a time for change, whether they be little changes or big changes. This is the time of year we look at them and know that they are coming through. So let's pull some cards this week, okay? First, we're going to start out and see what angel's around with my stones, like I always do, to see what archangel is helping us in this transitionary time, an interesting time where we're taking stock of the light and dark, our conscious and subconscious, and the scales in our lives right now. So what angel is working with us? Wow, it's like my phone just went right to it. Oh my, look at that. So what we have here is Archangel Uriel. He is the angel that helps remove toxic energies from karmic cords that are attached to others. He's also the one that's known as the psychologist of the archangels, and he helps us work through our issues and through our grief, through all of these things. He's the one that helps whisper these ideas into our minds so that we know what to do moving forward. He is the angel of Aquarius energy, so we know that it's going to be a very interesting time this week for our Aquarius friends. You're especially the ones that are going to be dealing with endings that lead to new beginnings. And he's the angel that's going to help you with that. When I say Aquarius friends, that's people that have sun, moon, or ascendant in their birth chart in the sign of Aquarius. Now, it's also going to be the same for those that are the opposing sign of Aquarius, because remember in astrology, the balancing is the opposing sign. So Leo is the opposing sign for Aquarius. If you have your sun, moon, or your ascendant in your birth chart in Leo as well, know that this is going to be a very pivotal week for you as well. Call on Archangel Uriel. He's here to help you work through it and also help the other person and facilitate the communication needed. So let's call on him with his brilliant ideas that he brings to us. He does too. I tell you what, he whispers these ideas to us and helps us see the way that we need. You know what I mean. When all of a sudden you just like feel like somebody just told you, whispered in your exactly what you need to do. He's the one that does it. So I'm going to do this just 2 more times and see what his message is for us this week. Happy new beginnings, a happy outcome. That's what this card represents, the star. Let me tell you exactly what it says. Happy times, make positive, optimistic, long-term plans, and that you're on the right path. Well, that's a nice sign right there, isn't it? When we're told that we're actually on the right path and we're heading in the right direction. I also like that it says to make long-term plans. That's exactly what Saturn, that's squaring up with this full moon, is. It teaches us